Welcome back to Easily Explained, where today we will be talking about community interactions. So let's get started. When we see a community of different species of organisms, there are many interactions that go on, and we're going to be going over the different interactions today. The first one that we are going to be talking about is competition. So the basic definition of competition is when two species have to fight each other for a limited resource. So if we think about limited food in an ecosystem and two species of birds are both eating the same limited plant, let's say, or limited insect. That is causing competition between them now because they have another species to fight over that resource. And in previous videos, we've talked about the competitive exclusion principle, so make sure to go rewatch the habitat versus niche video for more information. But as a general recap, competitive exclusion principle states that no two species can occupy the same niche at the same time in the same place because competition will happen. And competition can only end if one species goes extinct or they adapt to eat another food source, or something happens where another food source comes in for them, or they leave, they emigrate out of the community and find somewhere else. Even though one species might win, as in they got the resource, the other species either went extinct or they adapted to eat something else or they left the area, we still think of competition as harming both species, just in that aspect of they had to fight for that resource. The second type of community interaction is predation. Predation is when one organism feeds on the other. So when we talk about the animal that eats the other, that is called a predator, while the organism being eaten is your prey. And obviously, in predation, one organism, the predator, is benefiting because they get the nutrients they need to survive, while the prey, the other organism involved in this interaction, is being harmed because they are being eaten. And an example would be a shark eating fish. The shark is the predator, and it is benefiting in this interaction, while the fish is the prey and it is being harmed. And now we start getting into symbiotic relationships. These are basically relationships in which two species are living closely together. The first symbiotic relationship we're going to be talking about is called mutualism. In mutualism, both species are benefiting from this relationship. And you can also tell from the word mutual in mutualism that it is a mutual relationship. So that means that both species are going to get something out of this relationship. They're benefiting each other. For example, mutualistic relationship of the Nile crocodile and Egyptian plover bird. The plover bird picks at any leftover meat in the crocodile's teeth. So how is this benefiting both the plover bird and the crocodile? Well, the plover bird benefits because it gets food. That leftover meat in the crocodile's teeth becomes its nutrient supply. The crocodile benefits because it gets a clean mouth, so it doesn't get any diseases or anything like that. The next type of symbiotic relationship is called parasitism. In parasitism, one organism benefits while the other is harmed. The parasite is the one that benefits because it attaches onto, we call it the host, or basically the organism being harmed, and it attaches onto this host and starts taking its nutrients and starts to weaken the host. So obviously the host is being harmed in this case. And one example of parasitism is ticks, which feed on its host's blood. And the very last community interactions that we're going to be talking about in this video is called commensalism. In commensalism, one organism benefits from this interaction while the other is neither helped nor harmed. So the other organism is not affected at all. An example of commensalism is the orchid that grows on a tree. The orchid benefits because it can absorb water and nutrients, but the tree is not helped, nor is it harmed. It's not impacted or affected at all. Alright, we went over 5 different types of community interaction, so now it's time for a little recap. So let's make a summary chart on all of the different community interactions. Alright, so I've made a chart of all of the 5 community interactions we just went over, and now using the examples we gave for each type of community interaction, we're going to do a little summary. So for competition, we had the example of 2 different bird species competing for the same resource. And like we said, in competition, even though maybe organism A, bird species 1, decided, oh, I can do this, and they left the area. So bird species 2 technically won that situation. We are still saying that they both get harmed because they have to fight for that resource. Next, for predation, the example was about shark and fish. The shark is the predator. It preys on fish, the prey. So, since the shark gets its nutrients, it is benefited. The fish is getting eaten, so it's getting harmed. For mutualism, that's when both species benefit. We talked about Nile crocodile and Egyptian plover bird, where the bird picks food from the crocodile's teeth and it gets its meal, and the crocodile gets a nice dentist visit. So both species benefit. Parasitism, the tick is the parasite. It is benefiting by attaching to its host. For example, we could have a dog, and the dog is getting weakened by the tick. And lastly, orchid is benefiting because it is getting nutrients from the tree. The tree is not getting helped or harmed, so we just say 0. It's neutral. And now it is time to practice. So today's practice is identifying which type of interaction is being portrayed in the 4 cases below, and also I want you to describe how both organisms are being impacted. Pause the video now and complete the practice. Alrighty, number 1. The tapeworm has attached to human. So tapeworms are parasites. The human is the host. So this is an example of a parasitic relationship. And how are both of the organisms affected? Well, the tapeworm is the parasite, so it is benefited, while the host is harmed because the tapeworm is taking its nutrients and weakening the host. Number 2. Two species of lizards eat the same insect. They eat the exact same limited resource. So it is competition. And since we talked about how competition harms both species, it harms species 1 and species 2. Number 3, bee is pollinating a flower. This is mutualism because the bee gets food and the flower gets pollinated, and so therefore both species are being benefited from this interaction. And lastly, we have a frog that is eating a fly. And this one should be pretty easy because the frog is the predator and the fly is the prey. This is predation. And the predator benefits while the prey is harmed. Congratulations, you are now an expert at community interactions. We hope this video really helped, and we'll see you guys next time. Bye!